Hi, this is Lori, and I'm back. I thought I'd show you how to do a hand-built mug today. We haven't done that, and it's one of the more simple techniques to show you. Along with that, we're going to do some printing and some textures, and we're going to use a form. Follow along. So here we are with a slab of clay again, hand building a clay mug. We are using earthenware clay. It's low fire. We fire it at cone 04 to start, and then for glazes we fired at a cone 06. We are not using air dry clay today because it's not food safe. Okay, so I've rolled the clay out, and we've rolled it out to our 3 sticks, tongue depressor thick. All the way around. You can see it's all set for us and ready to go. The next thing I like to do is compress the clay. I do this, it makes the clay stronger, it aligns the molecules, and it smooths it out for us. I'm kind of holding it at an angle and moving across. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to put a texture on this today. The texture I'm going to be using is a mat, and this mat has a pattern in it. This is going to be wood, and we're just going to lay it down, taking up the majority of the clay here, and we're just going to roll it in. Let's use the roller all over. You can feel it going down into the clay. And we're going to pull it up. And all of a sudden it looks like wood. Let's raise that up to see if you can see the texture in it. Okay, so our clay is all ready. The next thing we're going to do is take this form. It's just a cardboard tube. Now, if you have a tube this size at home, great. If you get one of our to-go kits for this mug, it will come in your kit for you. If not, you can get them on Amazon, and we can put a link down below for you if that works for you. Okay, so what I've done is prepare the tube. The tube actually has paper, and it's a separator so that the clay doesn't stick to the cardboard. Okay, so how I did that was I just took a paper towel and I folded it in half, exactly in half. It's a square piece of paper. That's probably about 12 by 12. And I wrapped it around the form, just like this. I like to do multiple layers, at least 2 works, and then you just tape it. You just take your tape it together, hold it in place, and you are good to go. Okay, I already have 2 on mine, so we're all set there. Now the good news is when you do that, you can also put the pattern. That same piece can be a pattern for you, so you know how to cut out your clay. Okay, so I'm going to line this up and kind of get it going parallel with my design that's already on here. I'm going to give myself a little extra room because I'm going to do what's called the overlap technique today. So I'm cutting the edges. Just follow right along your paper towel. That will be in your kit if you purchase a kit from us. If not, you can probably grab a paper towel from the kitchen. Take off the excess clay. I'm just setting it aside. I'm going to use part of it for the base of my mug, and the other part is going to be the handle. Okay, cut across the bottom. And then I have a little bit of extra clay left over. I would say it's probably about 1.25 inches. Now, to put this on my mug, it has to be the design side out. Okay, so I have the design face down, and then I'm going to take my form and put it right in the middle of the clay. And then I'm going to bring one side up and then the other side up. And they're going to overlap, just like that. You see that? It's going to make sure they're nice and overlapped. It's working fine. It's kind of rustic, you know, it's wood, so it's great to look rustic. I'm going to open it up now that I know that it fits, and I'm going to do some scoring. Remember, scoring is just scratching the surface. It's roughing it up and creating pockets, and then inside all that, the water goes. And the water will make slip, which is liquid clay. And that's your glue that holds it together. Okay, put it back together. Now, this is a mug, so you want to make sure this is nice and tight across there. You don't want it dripping out as you're drinking. So this is how mine looks. I would say it's pretty rustic. It's not perfectly even. It looks like a piece of wood overlapping. I'm checking the edge just to make sure it's nice and smooth still around the top. As I go along, I like to make sure this can come up and down. It's not too tight on there. It's very important. Now I'm going to take the extra clay and see if we lucked out. This is the bottom of my container that I popped off. Okay. This is going to be my pattern. I want it to be a little bit bigger than this. So I'm just going to roll this out a little bit thinner so I can get a bigger piece out of it. Just not too much. Here we go. And you can decide, do you want the print to be on the bottom still, or do you just want a plain bottom? Okay. I want the print to be on the bottom, so I'm going to put it down, cut my pattern out. And then it's going to fit right on there. Okay, it's a little bit bigger, just like we planned. So we're going to take and put our scoring all the way around the outside and then on the bottom of our mug. You can see all our layers there. Now, when I do this, like we talked about, I'm going to pull in the tube so there's room. And see how I'm moving the paper away? I prefer not to have that paper stuck in there. Okay, we're going to put our water, some finger full of water to make those slip in the suction cups. And place it down. Now you notice while I'm holding my piece on the form, I'm doing it very gently because I do not want to lose my pattern. Okay. So now I'm going to take my needle tool, pink needle tool again, and trim it up perfectly around the edge so I can't see it. Now this pattern is really cool because you can't really notice the difference between the bottom and the sides because you have so many different layers and lines in this pattern. I'm just cutting it all the way off. And then I'm going to take my finger and some water. You can take a sponge too. And I'm just going to smooth that out. Again, it's a mug, so I definitely want it to be stuck because I don't want my water dripping out or my coffee or whatever you might have in there. Just trim it as you go along, smooth it out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're working with the wood pattern. Smoothing it. You see what I'm doing? I'm making sure the water is going between those two sections so that it forms a nice solid seal. See how I'm just kind of tossing it so that it does not ruin my pattern. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take the sponge, just kind of clean up the slip again. We'll probably do that several times just to be on top of it. Again, make sure that my container can slip out easily. And the next thing I'm going to do is put an add-on. We call it an add-on. Now, think about it. If I were to just stop now, it'd be a nice pencil holder, paintbrush holder, utensils holder, whatever you want, and it would be beautiful. You'd be done. All you have to do is paint it, and you're on your way. But we're going to go a step further, and we're actually going to put an add-on. Well, an add-on is just an extra piece that you make so that you have a design on your piece. I'm going to compress my clay again. This time, when I rolled this piece of clay out ahead of time, I just did it to a little over 1 tongue depressor thick. It's going to be a layer on top of the mug, so it doesn't have to be as thick. Smoothing it out a little bit, compressing the clay. I'm just going to make it nice and smooth with my sponge. My sponge is like another layer, almost like sandpaper. Just damp, not wet. Okay, now the other day I was searching around Amazon, the internet, and I found these letters. A lot of times you can use letters that work with cake decorating, and they work beautifully for what we have. I found this size. They're about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch tall, and they just stick together. They're perfect because you don't need another piece to put them on. They just go side by side, so you kind of know if your words are going in the right direction. You're not putting them in backwards, and I love that. So what we're going to do, I have my words all ready, and I'm going to put a heart on the side. It is just a simple cookie cutter. I'm going to cut that out, and just going to take the extra clay off, get rid of excess. Usually you can find these cookie cutters, they come in a set. This one is kind of a medium size in the set, so it's a nice grouping. Okay, so I'm going to put on this just because dog is man's best friend and we have kind of a wood theme going on here. I'm going to put my dog is my Valentine. So I'm just going to press this in here very gently, and I'm just going to, I have them all set up so I don't put them in backwards, hopefully. You can always test it on a piece of clay first, of course. Make sure I leave room in the right place. So Valentine fits because it's the longest word. Everything looks like it's coming out right. And again, it can be rustic. It doesn't have to be perfect. Almost like it was engraved on the side of a tree. Okay, so Valentine is going to fit here still. Take a peek, pressing that in pretty gently, but firmly enough so you can read it. And pull it back out. And there we go. It's perfect size letters. All right, so how do we get this on? We're going to take it and, you know, scoring. We're going to do a lot of scoring on the back. We decide where we're going to put it. Now, if you had a seam and you didn't want it to show, then you could put it right over the seam that you created. But I'm going to do some decorations on that seam later, so I want it to stay there. This is going to be on the side of the mug, and my handle is probably going to go on this side. And my decoration is there, so I'm guessing right here for my design, my add-on design, and it'll look like that. Okay, so now that I know where it's going to go, I'm going to do some scoring on the mug. I want it to really stick, and then take my water, of course. It's a big area. I'm going to take my sponge and put it on. Just squeezing a little bit of water on. I don't know if you can tell how much that is, but it's wet. And then go ahead and put that on. I want to check and make sure that it's not crooked, or even if it was crooked, would it really matter? I think it'd be pretty cute still. All right, so there goes our heart. Just clean up the edges maybe. Or maybe you want to put another design there or something. Or you could put initials like they were carved into the side of a tree. A lot of cute things you can do. I'm just going to go around and make sure it's all nice and neat. Now, for my seam here, I'm just going to take the lid from my tool, okay? I don't throw away anything. I like to keep these lids on the needles when I store them, but it's also nice because sometimes they're just the right size for something you need. And in this case, that's what we have here. So I'm going to take this. It's going to look like a nail. I'm going to put a few of them down here, and it's going to look like the wood is nailed together there. So I'm just going to make a mark in my clay. I don't know, make 4 or 5 of them. See how many we really need once we get started with the design. And then I'm going to cut around it. Pull it out. And then decide how many I want. I'm not pressing them in all the way. I'm just kind of placing them for now. I don't know, what do you think? 3, 4, 5? Space maybe like that. I'm thinking 4. Let me take a peek and see. Maybe 5. Five's the magic number. Okay, so like that. And we're just going to score and attach those. just aligning them, cleaning them off a little bit. And then really push them on there. Clean off my fingerprints as much as possible. Now, if your print does get some lines through it or loses some of its lines, see if I can find a spot here. Right in here, we kind of lost, my finger kind of went over and we kind of lost it. You just take your tool and put them right back in. Okay, it's not a big deal. You just follow the pattern around. And you're back in business. Okay, one more time I'm going to check the bottom because I've been leaning on it a little bit. There we go. And now we're going to put the handle on. The handle, you want it to be pretty good thickness. So I'm going to use that clay that we rolled out in the beginning. That is 3 sticks wide. Okay, and that should be a good thickness for your handle also. And I'm just going to eyeball it and decide how wide I want my handle. I want it to be pretty heavy duty. I don't want it to be too thick, too wide. So I'm going to use this as a measuring guide. And kind of bring it down like that. Now, to put this on, it's a little bit long. So what we do is, I'm going to take a tool. I'm just going to make an angle on this. It's like this. Can you see how I'm cutting this? Let me turn it sideways. Cutting just an angle off on it. And then I'm scoring it. And we decided already approximately where we're going to put the handle, which is over right here in this area. So I'm going to line that up for me and decide where it's going to go. Scoring that area, putting water, making our slip up, and then taking the angle and putting it on my mug like that. I'm going to blend that in so it's attached nicely. Now again, I'm blending it right over my pattern. I can't worry, I would rather have a nice sturdy handle, so I'm just making sure it's on there nicely. I kind of like it when it comes up a little bit, so I'm going to make sure it's scored right there very well so that it sticks there. Then, while my handle is not completely attached, I'm going to go back in and put my design back in. Just going to put a couple lines through there just to give it the idea. Okay, now for the bottom part of my handle, I'm going to actually kind of roll it up. So I'm taking my clay, rolling it, and then I'm going to stick it on like this. Okay, see how it's nicely holding up on its own, so that means I have a nice thick sturdy handle. I think I'm ready to go. So I'm going to score again. Score here, you know the drill. And suction that right into place. Now I'm just going to turn this so I can see. I want to make sure that it's actually lined up straight. And I really have to eyeball that so that my handle isn't going crooked. There we go. Now the bottom here where it's curled up, I'm just going to put a few lines so it looks like wood there too. See how I took my tool and just made some lines there. And then I'm going to press it right on to the mug here too. And just make sure that I have it staying up by itself. Okay. If it doesn't stay up, it's going to fall off completely. And you want to have a handle as it dries. So make sure it's attached both places very well. Now if you are having trouble with your handle staying, I do have a little trick. Now you can take your sponge after you're done cleaning everything up and stick it in your handle just gently like this, and it will help hold it for a little while. Now the sponge does move, so as the clay dries, the sponge will move also, and the handle won't break off. You do have to keep an eye on it. Don't just think that it's going to take care of itself. Just cleaning it up, and I think we're done. We're going to pop this out. Let's take a look. Let's see. We've got our detail. One thing I might suggest now that we have the inside form out, take a look at that seam that we have going up. If you're not sure about it, go ahead and compress it, holding your hand outside and inside. Compress it a little bit. And if you think you can see some light through it, or you just don't like the way it looks, you can take a little piece of clay, roll it into a coil, real small coil. About like this. See how that coil is real small, about that size? And then you just blend that in along your seam inside, and you'll be sure that it's nice and sealed. I don't have to do that. I think mine's pretty good, but I have had to do that on other mugs. So just take a look, see what you think. If you want to smooth that out, that's a good way to finish off that seam inside. And here we have it, our beautiful add-on with stamps and a nice textured pattern. If you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll have more items for you to follow along with. Thanks for joining us.